This is Brendan Sorsby's game on Saturday because it feels like it's going to be on his arm to get the job done.
You are Locked On Bearcats, your daily podcast on the Cincinnati Bearcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bearcats. Locked On Bearcats is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Bearcats, every single day. And my name is Jeff Carr. I am a lifelong Cincinnati sports fan in general. I'm all Cincinnati all the time. And I've worked in multiple athletic departments, and I've also been a season ticket holder for Bearcats football for 7 seasons now. And I'm glad that you're alongside me here today, because joining us, as always, will be Russ Heltman as we break down this homecoming game between the Baylor Bears and the Cincinnati Bearcats. We'll give you our predictions a little bit later on as to what's going to happen on Saturday. We're also going to talk about, in a few minutes, why not go a little bit more conservative and control the clock a little bit against the Baylor defense that feels suspect against the run, because we're starting with the quarterbacks, because it feels like that's where this game will be won and lost, and why Brendan Sorsby is so important to all of that. That's all coming up on today's episode that is brought to you by FanDuel. New users can place a $5 wager and win $300 in bonus bets if that $5 wager wins. Download that FanDuel app today. And joining us, as he always does, one of the most trusted voices in Clifton, he is Russ Heltman. Russ, what you got for me, man?
6-1, Jeff. It was a little hairy for the defense for portions of that game against Oklahoma State, but the Bearcats are rolling. The basketball team has wrapped up their media days. It is the ideal time of the year for the Cincinnati Bearcats basketball and football fan.
Yeah, I was said not a ton of nervous eating, but a little bit of nervous eating in the third quarter against Oklahoma State. But then, of course, the fourth quarter just absolutely assuaged all concerns because they did so well. And I wonder a little bit, can they follow that momentum up with the interceptions and the turnovers and things like that? Because it seems as though Baylor's going to want to pass a lot. Sawyer Robinson leads the lead, or was it lead the country in touchdowns and yards? And so they're going to want to throw the ball a lot.
Yards, I know that for sure.
So with all that, like, the defense is going to have pressure on them, but so is Brendan Sorsby, because this feels like the Kansas game to me, where Sorsby's going to have to do a lot of throwing and kind of beat Baylor with his arm.
I'm right there with you, Jeff. This is a 66.5 point total that's bumped all the way up to 67.5 by, I think, this time that people are listening to us on Locked On Bearcats. So a lot of points expected in this game. Two of the worst stop rate defenses in the country, according to ESPN's Max Olson. Cincinnati at 72nd nationally in terms of stop rate, which is a gauge of how often on your opposing drives do teams punt, have a turnover, or have a turnover on downs. So only 72nd nationally for Cincinnati, 119th nationally for the Baylor Bears. So this is a defense that is not as bad as Oklahoma State, Jeff, but not too far in front of it. So.
It feels like we're going to be watching a Madden game a little bit. Like, these teams are going to get to fourth down and they're going to be like, punt? Well, why do we need a punt? At least as long as they're on the plus side of the 50, or at least close to it. So I fall back on Brendan Sorsby, where it feels like he is putting together an all-time type of season, at least from an efficiency standpoint. I mean, the numbers that he is putting up right now from the efficiency side of things are just mind-boggling.
They are. This has been absolutely outstanding season for Brendan Sorsby. Better season right now than Desmond Ridder had in 2021 for the Cincinnati Bearcats. He's grading higher on PFF. He's committing turnover-worthy plays at a lower rate. Top 5 nationally now, Jeff, in turnover-worthy play rate on PFF. Cincinnati, we talked about it last week going into the Oklahoma State team. One of the most disciplined, sound teams in terms of taking care of the football all season long. That continued against Oklahoma State. 2 turnovers for the Bearcats defense, including that majestic pick 6 by Matthew McDoom, and no turnovers for the Cincinnati Bearcats offense, largely because of the acumen of Brendan Sorsby. I mean, he's the highest rated quarterback by PFF in the Big 12, 91.9 overall. Highest rated by total QBR on ESPN, 85 overall, only behind Julian Sayin in total PFF grade nationally, in 7th in the ESPN QBR metric. 23 total touchdowns. I think actually it's up to 24 now. He is tied for the number 1 total touchdowns accounted for mark in the entire country. 2-time offensive player of the week. I mean, he's been outstanding. And when we dive into the efficiency, number 1 in the Big 12 in yards per completion, 3rd in the Big 12 and 7th in the nation in traditional passer rating. I mean, this is arguably, Jeff, the best quarterback season in the history of Cincinnati Bearcats football that we are seeing halfway through the campaign.
I'm glad you said that, because I was trying to go there in my mind when I was looking at some numbers, and I looked back at Dez, and I looked at Gino Goodie. I think in his sophomore season he went over 3,000 yards and things like that. And I'm like, I think from a counting standpoint, that's going to be a difficult thing, because I think Brendan Sorsby is going to have to more than double his pass attempts from here on out, and he's only got 5 regular season games, and then probably a bowl game. I mean, if they win the Big 12, then hey, they've got like 2 or 3 more games ahead of.
Guaranteed a bowl game now.
Yeah, guaranteed a bowl game, and then you might have more than even that, but still, you'd have to throw a lot to get to the number of attempts that Gino Goodie had in that season. And so for him to just match up the counting stats might be kind of tough, but efficiency-wise, it's such a really amazing season to see. We haven't seen that sort of performance from anybody in a Bearcats uniform.
No, we haven't. And I mean, all due respect to Gino Goodie, a legend in this program, he was not facing the level of competition that Brendan Sorsby is facing this season, or not even close to the level of competition that Brendan Sorsby, yes, is having the best season statistically and efficiency-wise in the history of the program by a quarterback. But there's 5 games left to go. And, Jeff, these last 5 games are much more difficult than the first 7 games were of the season. Basically, anywhere you look, this is a top 30 most difficult schedule down the stretch for among all FBS teams.
Yeah, I feel like I'm becoming some sort of broken record by saying, boy, it feels like the Bearcats need to make a statement this week. But that's really where they are. Like, each and every week they face a team that it's like, if you beat this team, you're gonna move up the ladder 1 rung or maybe half a rung. I saw some people like talking about power rankings, as much as you don't really want to put a whole lot of stock in power rankings. It gives you an idea of how people view you. And there's still people that have them like as 4th or 5th in the Big 12. And I'm like, okay, I understand if you're not going to put them at the top, because Texas Tech still looks like a powerhouse and they just tripped up once. But at the same time, they've got an argument to be 2 or 3 here. And for people not putting them there, I have a hard time taking that seriously anymore.
Yeah, I kind of love it, though, because I personally want to cover a Big 12 championship game. And if that means more bulletin board material for Scott Satterfield's team, which he acknowledged on Tuesday, they are playing with a chip on their shoulder. They know all the noise. They hear it all. They use it as motivation. So it's fine by me. Fine by me. Give them more chips on the shoulder to stack down the stretch of the season, which they're going to need them with the amount of heavy competition coming their way, with BYU in store, at Utah, going to TCU. I mean, these are some daunting matchups down the stretch here for Cincinnati Bearcats football. Maybe only needing maybe 1 loss down the stretch here could get them into the Big 12 championship game as well. We'll be pretty shocked if they only win all the games but 1 down the stretch here and don't get in. That would mean somebody went on a crazy run.
Right. That would be, because I think that would be BYU and Texas Tech. Like, and if BYU were like,
it would have to be basically
loss,
BYU would have to be the loss. They would have to win out the rest of the way here for Cincinnati to not get in over BYU, obviously, because they would be tied with 1 loss in the conference, and BYU would have the tiebreaker because of the head-to-head.
Does BYU play Texas Tech? I didn't look at that. I probably should have looked.
I'm not sure. I think they do play BYU. That's their only tough game remaining in the rest.
That'll be interesting.
Quick,
so if I root for, I think we got to root for BYU in all games except
they play BYU at home on November 8th. 60% matchup favorites on ESPN right now.
It's like right before. Is that before? Yeah, I think that's right before their matchup here. So boy, they got a gauntlet there. That's kind of nice to see. But I'm with you. Like I feel like there's so much opportunity here, but they've just got to keep stacking. And I love that they're playing with a chip on their shoulder, because it's easy to get worried about style points at this point in the season, but you just got to win. And the more that you keep winning, the more that you're going to get the respect that you deserve, whether the margins make sense or not.
Well, margins don't matter in the Big 12. There's only going to be 1 Big 12 team that gets the college football playoff. That's been affirmed. It would take carnage of the highest order in the Big 10 and the SEC for 2 Big 12 teams to get in, especially if it's a 2-loss team like Cincinnati they would have to be a 2-loss team, obviously, to get into the college football playoff and not be conference champions.
So with all of that being said, worrying about style points and all this other stuff, and as much as Brendan Sorsby is going to be super key, why not go a little bit more conservative, especially with the way that Baylor plays defense? I think that there's something to this, but I'm not necessarily sure we're going to see it from Scott Satterfield. We'll discuss that coming up next. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference in business owners' lives is Quo. It's the same great business phone system as OpenPhone that you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that is going to keep you connected 24/7. That's exactly where Quo comes in, because they're the number one business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or your computer, so there's no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. You can even keep your existing number for free. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. And the line has moved significantly toward Baylor ever since the beginning of the week over on FanDuel. By the way, new users can place a $5 wager, and if it wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. And if you want to put it on this game, it looks like the money line's the better way to go. The money line started out in the 200s. Now it's down to minus 168 for the Bearcats to win. Bearcats favored by 3.5 points now as of recording on Thursday. They were favored by 5.5 at the beginning of the week, so some money has come in on the Baylor side. Over-under still at 67.5. I have a hard time believing that they're going to hit the under, even if the Bearcats decide to go conservative on offense. This just feels like a high-scoring ball game, and I'm taking that to the bank over on FanDuel. You probably should too. Like I said, your first $5 wager that wins gets you $300 in bonus bets. Those are odds you can't beat anywhere else. Download the FanDuel app today. Thank you for making Locked On Bearcats part of your day, and I invite you to make it part of your everyday routine. Hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcast. All right, so yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of passing in this game. And as much as we focused on Brendan Sorsby and looking at Sawyer Robertson, I mean, he wants to toss the ball down the field. My logical next step in like considering predictions and thinking about how the Bearcats can attack this is, why not feature Tawi Walker and Evan Pryor in this game, where it feels like Baylor, when you run the ball, they're going to let you run the ball.
Yeah, but their pass defense is even worse, Jeff. The pass defense is even worse, and they don't have Tez Williams potentially in this game. Another week we are seeing on the injury reports a Cincinnati Bearcats squad completely healthy, ready to roll, reaping the benefits of that $134 million practice facility and pairing it with the Big 12 training staff of the year in 2024, 2025. It's a potent combination, Jeff, and they have just been dynamically healthy this year. Like, it's amazing how healthy they have been. Zero major injuries, really, for the entire rotation on both sides of the ball. There has not been one major injury, knock on wood, that I can think of. So huge for Cincinnati there. And Tez Williams, the cornerback for the Baylor Bears, lead cornerback, 14 tackles, a couple pass breakups so far this season. He is on the mend right now. And they were terrible even with Tez Williams at cornerback. So you look at just the issues they have there. Tevin Williams, the second, excuse me, not Tez Williams. But yeah, Williams all the same, and they're going to miss him drastically if they don't have him here, because 91st nationally in EPA per dropback allowed. They're 119th nationally in dropback success rate allowed. This is a horrendous pass defense that only has 7 sacks this season up front. They're not going to get pressure on Brendan Sorsby in the backfield up against arguably the best offensive line in the conference in Cincinnati. Really, really strong unit there. And I don't see how Baylor keeps pace at all defensively with this passing attack. I would spam the pass. I would breathe down on it and step down on it until they can stop it, because this Baylor passing defense has been horrific this season. And we know how good Cincinnati has been throwing the football. 17th nationally in EPA per rush, 22nd nationally in EPA per dropback, and overall 9th in success rate per dropback, 4th in rushing success rate this season. They consistently move the ball down the field, down your throat. And pick your poison. It doesn't really matter what you do here, Jeff. This defense is horrific, and Cincinnati has as good a rushing attack as they do a passing attack. And that's a big reason why they have the 2nd best yards per play nationally and have been so wildly efficient this season, scoring the 15th most points per game in the country at right around 37.9, I believe.
It makes me interested on that line that I had just mentioned. We'll really dive into that here in just a few minutes. But you're right.
And the stop rate, which I talked about earlier, 119th nationally for Baylor. Bottom 15 defense, pretty succinctly.
Because it feels like, and I know you had a good article over on the Bearcats on SI with the guy from Baylor, and he was mentioning the safety that, he's made a lot of plays for him this season. It kind of feels like they're going to need him to be everywhere at once if they're going to have a prayer to stop them. Because if Brendan Sorsby's not going to Joe Royer, he can go to Cyrus Allen, he can go deep to Jeff Caldwell, like all the different weapons that he has around them. And oh, by the way, if Brendan Sorsby just wants to rest his arm, they can just hand the ball off and you're probably going to get 5-6 yards.
Right. Overall, this is the 4th best offensive unit in the entire country by EPA per play when you mix the passing and the rushing. I just pick your poison. It's going to be tough for Baylor to slow down this team. And 35.5 point total sitting for Cincinnati on FanDuel Sportsbook right now. I believe FanDuel has the best number in the market in terms of the odds. Last time I checked, that's a number that I would be playing for sure. I would be shocked if the Bearcats are held under 35 points in this game.
So with that being said, like, who do you think has the biggest day? Because it feels as though it could be a, bring up a name, bring up an Allen, a Caldwell, or even a Caleb Goodie or somebody like that and say, yeah, they probably would have the biggest game in this because it just feels like all of them have equal opportunity.
Jeff Caldwell, Caleb Goodie, I'm looking for those burners to have a big day here. I think they could have a huge day. Baylor 92nd nationally with 15 30-plus yard plays allowed this season. That's just not ideal facing these horses on the outside for Cincinnati. Even worse, in 40-plus yards plays allowed, 111th nationally with 9 this year. Jeff, there could be some big receptions down the field for Jeff Caldwell and Caleb Goodie and Cyrus Allen as well. But obviously Cyrus doesn't have that average depth of target of the same size of Caldwell and Goodie.
Efficiency down the field, check. Do you want to throw the deep ball and do you want to go underneath? Check. Do you want to run the ball inside? Check. Do you want to run the ball outside? Check. Man, it feels like we are setting this up to be a can't miss opportunity for this team. So what is your biggest concern, if there is any?
Oh, the back end of the defense for sure. And this passing attack against Baylor. If Baylor can't get the rushing game going at all in this one, that's the big factor here, because Cincinnati will be able to kind of cloud the middle of the field, run some more zone, add another defender to the back end to be able to throw some more issues at Sawyer Robertson and that high volume passing attack from Baylor, but not necessarily super efficient for the Baylor Bears this year. 56th nationally in EPA per rush, 58th in EPA per dropback, despite leading the entire nation in passing yards. That number is a little deceiving. You can lead the nation in passing yards, sure, but you need to be efficient with it as well. And they have not been super efficient through the air this season, even worse in success rate. So if this Bearcats defense starts to bend a little bit more than they have in recent weeks, if they don't have the turnovers that we saw against Oklahoma State, when you look at Stats of War, Parker Fleming, he does the awesome, how bad did we get beat this week, the success rate comparison. Cincinnati really barely beat Oklahoma State compared to the 49-17 scoreline. It was a big factor of the red zone issues Oklahoma State had in that game going up against Cincinnati, who does have one of the best red zone defenses in the entire country. And if that continues here, I just don't see how Baylor is going to be able to score touchdowns enough inside of the opposing 20-yard line to keep pace with the Cincinnati Bearcats offense that's 77% touchdown rate this season, one of the best in the entire nation. And overall, UC has just been electric. 73.9% score rate in the red zone allowed. That's 14th nationally, and they're allowing a touchdown on less than 48% of their opponent trips into the red zone. That's 16th nationally. So unless Baylor can really figure out this red zone, then I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for Cincinnati defensively. But I imagine they're going to be able to move the ball and get themselves into those situations. We'll just have to see how well they can execute in those moments. Baylor's offense this season, not good in the red zone, 89th nationally with an 81.25% score rate. And overall, they're 70th nationally with a 62.5% touchdown rate. That's the big fulcrum here, Jeff. If that number can be more like a top 30, top 40 ranking number in this game and individually, then UC is going to be in for a barn burner shootout down the stretch of this game. But if they hold them to a couple field goals here and there, or a couple more of those fourth down stops, having faced the most fourth down attempts of any defense in the Big 12 this season, that's going to count for a turnover. And you're going to get the ball back to your offense and be able to kind of double up that score line and extend that margin at home at Nippert Stadium. Red zone, always important, but it's never been more important for a Bearcats' pursuit of a conference championship, just given the nature of this defense and honestly how little impact we're seeing from the front seven. They just cannot get a pass rush right now. Didn't get much of a pass rush against Oklahoma State. I don't know why they didn't force him to throw the ball more. I would have sold out to stop the run and keep them from going over 200 yards rushing, but looking for Dante Corleone to maybe have a bigger impact this week. He's just fighting through that ankle injury. It's lingering around on him a little bit. So not as much impact from him. And if you don't have a huge impact from Dante Corleone, nobody else was expected to be a huge impact piece on that defensive front. So we're kind of seeing what that's what that's laying out 6 games into the season with how little impact we've seen from Dante, partly because of his overall issues getting to the quarterback and getting through the offensive front, and also partly because of that ankle problem.
That being said, I know exactly how I'm leaning when it comes to my prediction for this game, and we'll get Russ's prediction as well coming up next. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every single ride because the safety is on point. They've got more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anybody else. Because from footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings that same intention into how they craft every model. That's why you can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery in many of their vehicles. You can make everyday drives feel anything but, because they have smooth handling and intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. You can keep the conversation going with us after the show is over. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs, and you can also follow Russ at Russ Heltman 11 on Twitter. There's no Fs in Russ Heltman's Twitter handle as well. You can also follow me on TikTok at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs as well. And the show at LO_Bearcats. Lots of social handles. That's why I have them written down, because if I don't look at them, I will forget them all. All right, so with all of this being said, it feels like we are overwhelmingly in favor of a Bearcats win, and I'm not going to deviate from that, because especially now with FanDuel, with the line on FanDuel having moved to 3.5, I thought earlier on in the week the Bearcats could win this game by 4. And that was kind of my prediction from a more conservative side. I try to be conservative when I'm thinking of if I'm going to put money down on a game or something like that. And I'm like, I think that this comes down to either the last possession or the second to last possession, and then maybe the Bearcats go up, the Baylor Bears get the ball, and they're going for it on 4th down, they get stopped or something like that, and the Bearcats win by 4. I have a hard time seeing it's going to be less than that. So I think I'm taking that. I'm going to lay the 3.5 points on FanDuel. I'm taking the over on 67.5. I want to take the over on 35.5 for the Bearcats to score more than that. This is a good feelings type of ball game here. I'm thinking 42-38. Bearcats get the win.
Similar feeling here. 41-31 victory for the Bearcats. I mean, there's a lot of sharp bettors, a lot of smart people, I'm sure, on the side of the Baylor Bears here driving this number down. I just don't see it. I don't see it, especially if Tevin Williams is not available. Interested to see if the number reacts to that news at all over the next couple of days. I just don't see how they're going to have the horses to slow down this passing attack from Cincinnati. And sure, the defense has been wonky a little bit, but they're going to bow up enough in the red zone, in my opinion, to stop them 2, maybe 3 times, a couple of 4th down stops. Maybe they get an interception or a turnover, 1-0 advantage. I would be shocked if Cincinnati gives the ball away. I mean, they haven't given the ball away. Really, have they given a ball away in conference play besides the Tui Walker fumble? I don't think they have.
I think that's about the only one. Yeah.
So if that's the only time that they've been giving up fumbles or interceptions, there's no reason for me to believe that's going to happen this week, especially when Brendan Sorsby not only isn't turning the ball over, he's not making turnover-worthy plays. I think he's had 2 straight weeks or 3 straight weeks without a logged turnover-worthy play from Pro Football Focus. So just given how disciplined UC has been, how raucous this crowd is about to be at homecoming, and the issues with cornerback Tevin Williams in the secondary and the issues they already bring to the table as one of the bottom's 15, 16, 20 pass defenses in the entire country and a bad rushing defense at that, I don't see how they're held under 40 points. UC is, and I think they do enough to keep a comfortable gap between them and the Baylor Bears. They don't want to give up 31, but it's fine if you're giving up 41 on the other side. Yeah. So give me the Bearcats 41-31 and over that 35.5 team total. I don't see how Baylor has a chance to slow down one of the best, I just can't believe I'm saying it, one of the best offenses in the country, 4th in the FBS in terms of total efficiency. It's amazing.
That's fun to say. And and there's 2 things to me that back up our assertions is what we've mentioned already at different points in today's show. And there's not really statistics on it other than the number of guys on the injured list, but the fact that the Bearcats have been so healthy this year is such a, I mean, it's the unsexy analysis of most teams, but when you're the healthiest team on the other side of the field compared to the other guy, like, you've got a much better chance of winning this game. And then on the mental side of things, the chip on their shoulder attitude, like, it would be easy to beat Iowa State and start feeling comfortable. It'd be easy to beat a couple of different Big 12 teams like Oklahoma State and Kansas and start feeling comfortable. But just like you said, and just like they've mentioned in about every press conference that they've had, they're not. They're going 1-0. They're focused on next week. They're not focused on 2 weeks from now. They're not thinking about last week. They've got their focus in the right place. And I think when you put all of that together, we've got the right concoction here for this Bearcats team to really do some big stuff. And of course, there's still games to worry about in the future, but when it comes to Baylor this week, man, I feel real good. Like, everybody always says every given Saturday and things like that, but I feel really good about their chances to just absolutely entertain the crowd and get to a point where we're all just like, let's go. This has been a good game.
No doubt. And just on top of the health, I think the underlying factor of health that people don't take into account it's not just about, I mean, Dante Corleone is going through an issue right now. He's a perfect example. If Dante was completely healthy all year, he would have been able to stack week 1 on top of week 2, on top of week 3, continue working on his craft, continue focusing only on attacking opposing offensive lines. Instead, he's unfortunately had to deal with the ankle injury, the rehab, all that stuff, the extra workload that goes on your mind and your body when you're having to come back from injury. There hasn't been that scenario for most of these guys all season long, and it's allowed them, Jeff, to stack weeks, stack good performances, stack good habits, stack good culture, and now stack us towards a potential run at the Big 12 championship game. Lot of football still to play, but it's been about as fun as you can ask for a first half of a 2025 college football season on the Cincinnati Bearcats front, at least.
So I saw the Bearcats football account shared the fact that mid-season Scott Satterfield is still on the watch list for Coach of the Year, and there was an Indiana fan that commented and was just like, "Yeah, not a chance he wins this." And I'm like, I don't care about him versus Kurt Signet. I care about the fact that at the beginning of this year he was on the opposite list. Whatever the watch
seat. He was on
the hot seat list.
He was on the hot seat articles. Now he's on watch lists. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's on award watch list. It's like, this is how crazy fun this year has been to this point, and I don't expect it to stop being any less fun. Yeah, I expect the fun to continue. Basically, I've said a lot of words, but we're excited for this game, homecoming against the Baylor Bears on Saturday. You can bet that we're going to be back with you Saturday night with post-game analysis and everything going on the field, and Russ going to have you covered over on Bearcats on SI. Thank you so much for making us part of your day. Now hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss us at all. As we get toward basketball season, we'll be talking about this Arkansas scrimmage. Really excited to see the fact that they beat Michigan in scrimmage number 1, and now they're heading for another scrimmage, and good vibes all around. I saw that Kirk Kriisa might actually think about returning next year as well, because he's got one more year of eligibility. There's just so many things that are going on around Bearcats athletics, and we're going to have you covered every single day right here on Locked On Bearcats, because we are your Bearcats every single day.